Okay, so I'm Lainey. Um, my digital artifact this semester, I am doing a Instagram account and my personal blog to create a bit of a sort of social media marketing guide. So it was inspired by the fact that I was doing like social media management for my DAs in the first year of uni. Except I had no idea what I was doing. I was sort of just winging it and going through what I thought it was like the correct way to do it. Um, and then now I actually have been working for a digital marketing agency for the past year. So I feel like I've got more insight. Obviously, I'm still learning, but I feel like for a first year uni student, like I was, or just someone that's wanting to get into digital marketing, I've just kind of created like an account that shares like what I find useful tips for digital media in this day and age.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Lainey. My name's Jacob. My digital artifact this year is carrying on from something I did last year. And it's basically recording my very crappy non-professional soccer team, and recording them, cutting highlights from that videos, putting some of my own spin on it, putting a commentary over it, and then like posting it to the team so they can sort of watch the game back and have a great old time. But this semester I have to put a little bit of a twist on it because of the time in the season it is. Because the season was ending so soon, I wouldn't be able to fill out a whole semester's worth of work. So I was like, oh, how am I going to sort of make this a more broad topic that's not limited by the season? And that's I'm going to film my summer soccer team, but that means that I had to shift the way I was focusing on the project. So I've actually at halftime I put like little fake ads in that satirize like my least favorite parts of sports media, like gambling and whatnot, to maybe reach a more general audience. So that's my DA.
Thank you, Jacob. So my name is Katia, and for my DA this session, I'm building on the skills I learned last session in my 112 BCM class, which is pretty much writing a web novel, but I did it a bit differently this time in that it's an existing work. So it's a work that I was a fan of before. I read a web comic and it ended abruptly and it's been on hiatus for about 2 years. So I wasn't able to consume any content. I went looking for the original work. So it was a web comic that was based on a web novel, but the web novel was in Korean. So all of the translations in English were machine generated. And the ones that had been fan translated were in first person POV, which I just personally don't really like. So I decided I would rewrite it myself using ChatGPT and uploaded it onto Wattpad, webnovel.com, and Archive of Our Own. And then I would promote it for those online audiences.
Mm.
However, I've just recently decided to reposition my artifact as I was thinking that I was not really understanding the true value of it, which should be about discovering the best ways to write fiction using ChatGPT. So that is still writing a web novel and doing all that I was doing, but now I'm focusing on the educational aspect of it and being informative to people who use AI and who write fiction.
Awesome.
Love that. Um, so I guess we'll go through some of our key learning moments. Something for me, which is probably the most obvious, and it happens every digital artifact, is starting early enough, getting content out early enough, so then you can sort of generate that feedback loop. I feel like I was better this semester at creating enough content to get me to this point, but I feel like I haven't engaged with an audience. Like it's easy to put an Instagram account, create an Instagram account, but then I feel like I need to sort of practice what I am trying to preach on it and get it out there, make it visible for my audience so it's actually, serving its purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Lainey. Um, I think that in previous DAs that I've done, like I did a podcast, and I think a big learning moment in that was um, trying to focus on really determining who your audience is and really honing in on that. And I think that often students could maybe get deluded with trying to be the next sort of like big viral thing, right? Going massively popular, becoming this huge internet star. And the
Yeah.
way that I've sort of tried to tackle that in my own head is like focus on more qualitative impact rather than quantitative impact. Like rather than looking at the numbers of likes and views. Like when someone in my soccer club comes up to me and says, "Oh, hey bro, like haha, I really like this part of the video." Like you really search for that sort of feedback there, and really I think that's even more valuable, and it's easier to achieve, right? Like if you can focus on a specific audience. Here in my case, it's people in my soccer club. I don't really have to sell the dream to them. I don't have to hope that I'll come up in their feed. Like they're already going to be looking at the videos, and then getting that qualitative feedback and working off of that. I think it's insanely valuable.
I'm kind of similar to that. It's something that I've only really realized in third year is that maybe it probably very much relates to your DA because you only just launched your Instagram probably this session. So you haven't had the time to build your audience. Whereas say you're in first year, you have an interest, you're doing marketing, you have that interest in digital marketing, and you build it then, and then you slowly build your audience. You might have that bigger impact. Well, I kind of thought I was doing all these DAs and changing it each session. So I never really got the chance to make any like real impact, real value or anything long term because it was always just ending, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree because I've done that. I've changed my DA every subject, and it just makes it really difficult. I think if I could go back, I would have loved to start something and like build on it, as the years went on. Yeah.
Yeah. As a counterpoint to that almost, I think that it's 100% important. Like if you're in a first year and you do sort of want to do something you're passionate about, something that you could stick at for the whole of your uni journey is a great idea. But then also don't be married to it. Like Travis would say, make sure if something's not working, you're not enjoying it, your audience isn't enjoying it, reframe how you're looking at the whole problem and sort of, shift yourself, look to the adjacent possible maybe, something that is in the periphery of what you're already doing and, work that way. And I think if first years can hold themselves accountable in that way and say, hey, I'm going to be light on my feet, I'm going to move like that, make sure I'm doing something I love, people around me love, then I think that's a good way of doing it. In terms of an insight from my own DA, I think an important skill for some young first years to learn is exaptation. I think that when you sort of get this DA plonked on your desk, it may be a bit daunting because you want to, and like I just said before, you want to become viral, or you might feel like you're a perfectionist and you want to make a grade A production, right? And I think that is sometimes a bit unachievable, and it can mean that people think that this whole thing is overwhelming, and it might stop them from really starting and getting a go on the DA. So if I were to say like, my big tip is like, get started, do something, even if it's literally like a 10-second video that you put on Twitter. Like when I was doing my podcast, I just put like a little explainer video on Twitter and it like popped off on the BCM thread. Like everyone was looking at it. And then to that point as well, don't worry about the quality of something, right? Don't be like, this needs to be a $1,000 camera, it needs to be like such like great mic quality or whatever. Like with my games at the moment, I'm not going to buy a massive camera. So I'm literally using my iPhone, a $10 like adapter mount that I bought from Officeworks, and then a tripod that I got when I was 14 years old. Right. And I think that if people can start thinking that way, these first years, maybe start to thinking about how they can exact technology that they've already got, then it might help them in their journey and not be like, oh, this is such a daunting task. And it might help people get started.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I think that you have to have such an open mindset, and you have to be able to shift really easily, especially to new things like using ChatGPT, which I'm sure all of us do. I feel like is so useful, and if you haven't, it's almost like a loss to you because it's a tool that can help you. It can help you do things quicker. It doesn't have to take over, but it should definitely be used as like kind of an aid, I think.
I agree with that a lot. Yeah. I think the part about not being afraid to just get out there and just do it. And also about being fast on your feet, because obviously university is a learning journey and you're constantly learning new things. So being able to adapt and bring those into your DA as you go through multiple different subjects and being able to reframe it. And that's really important. And the main thing I feel about that is because otherwise, if you're constantly having new DAs, you have like 10 Instagram accounts, you don't have enough emails for those. And so they're just piled on there. So if you can reframe your DA while still keeping the original accounts and original content, and you can show that slow, gradual journey, I think having your focus be the consistent thing, or your passion, whatever you choose at the start, make sure that it's something that you value and is a part of you. And then you can, like, what's the chances that you're going to suddenly stop like you're going to start hating this thing that you've always loved, like, or this thing that you're even studying for? Like if you're studying marketing, what's the chance that you're going to decide, I don't want to do marketing anymore, so that's useless to me? I mean, if you drop out of your degree or something like that, then obviously, but you're more likely to keep with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the progression is the most important thing, and you'll learn that really quickly. And that's what they care about with these digital artifacts, that like they don't really care about the final product. So there's no point wasting your time on making the first thing that you create perfect, because like the fact that it's not perfect is where it gets better. It's because you find something out about it and you learn, and that's how you grow. And then the final product like will be better if you kind of have that mindset.
I guess building on from that, my learning moment, at least for this DA, I was writing my contextual report, and I was thinking about the learning moments that I'd had, and it's suddenly like a switch flipped in my mind where I was like suddenly thinking, what's the real value that I'm putting out there? Like, what's the purpose of this, and how is it gonna actually have an impact on people's lives? Because at the moment, like, my story isn't getting much traction. I didn't have that many views, and I was like, what's the chances people are actually going to read this? But then I thought, I'm completely underutilizing a core aspect of this DA, which is the ChatGPT, which is a new technology. People haven't really gotten the hang of being able to write fiction with it, or rewriting existing fiction that's been translated, which is very poor grammar. And it just, yeah. So I was like, I could be somebody who helps other people in finding out how to replicate it themselves. I could be the resource that I wanted. So I think finding value and finding your purpose, it's a driving factor to be able to keep it going. So say you're in your first year at university, think about the kind of impact you want to have on other people, whether that be in the entertainment, marketing, with that, wherever, like, you can find value and purpose anywhere, but it's being able to connect yourself to that and have it be your driver to keep going. I think that's the most important thing for me, at least. Yeah, that I wish I had known at the start.
Yeah, and I actually think piggybacking off that, okay, yeah, that's a great point. And like looking outwards and trying to be, think about different angles about how you can improve. And I think that if we do like one final reframing exercise, and I've only learned this relatively recently in this specific subject, is like, if you look at university as a whole as a sort of, and we keep alluding to it, like a development of your own personal skills and like developing skills for your career. I think that if you reframe it like that, everything you do is positive, and everything you do is contributing towards that main goal. So focus on trying to develop skills that are in areas that you want to go into, and I don't think you can ever fail.
Great addition to that.